Burning up on them fools that are talking foolish. Try to get them funds up, killing the mic just like I ran the jewels in. Y'all gonna get done up front, knowing that kid with an attitude, but you can't really blame this motherfucker. So what he had to do, turn. I'm about that cash flipping, I'm getting it on and off the market. Not about that VIP, not me, not never been a fan of carpets. All about that RIPs, but all of my Jesus gone departed. All about that business, what I started, I'm about that.
Top down, like you're not ready. We ride, we will party. So high, we see the whole city. We own the night. Down, like you're not ready. We ride, we will party. So high, we see the whole city. We own the night.
Nothing about it, wanna man, I can bring the drama. But it ain't by chance, I'm fucking rapping, you don't really want a problem. Made a little cash in the back end, but still rapping like I'm starving. Yeah, y'all gotta ask who the man is, hope I'm gonna be like, take your pardon. I'm about that.
Top down, like you're not ready. We ride, we will party. So high, we see the whole city. We own the night. Down, like you're not ready. We ride, we will party. So high, we see the whole city. We own the night.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? It is Friday, July 24th, and this is the YSN Power Hour. You looked in my ugly face for the last 3 hours. What's another one, boys? It is National Cousins Day today, so shout out to all the great cousins out there. God didn't give everybody great brothers and sisters, so that's why he made cousins, right? Let's go around and give a shout out to maybe if you have a favorite cousin or two out there. EB, we'll start with you, cuzzy.
I don't know if I have a favorite cousin. I think all my cousins are pretty cool. Obviously, growing up, I had a couple that were closer than others just because they lived in the same town, which would be Ryan and Drew Kennard. They were literally right across the road, so that always made, having someone to go annoy pretty easy. Outside of that, I always enjoyed the time with my cousins who live down in Charlotte just because you don't get to see them as much. So that's kind of that kind of gets into my family tree. And then I have all the Brainiac cousins are from Cleveland, so I do associate with them a little. They're all the Brainiac ones. So smart people up north, normal people, athletic people are here, and then I have my southern cousins down in Charlotte.
McNuggies, you got cousins out there that you know and love?
Yes, I do. Cousins that live probably 30 seconds from my grandma's house. We'd always play wiffle ball in the summers, basketball. We'd have a lot of fun. Mostly summers, sometimes head down there winters, but they were the cousins to hang out with when I'd go down to my grandma's, which it's a little less frequent than it used to be, but I still love my cousins. They started coming down and swimming in my new pool at our house. So, love them. Aiden and Avery Hall, shout out.
Love it. And making his triumphant return to the YSN Power Hour, it is the Kansas City Kid himself. It is Mr. Anthony Hartwig. Anthony, talk to us about your cousin. I think your cousins live in Kansas City, do they not?
Yeah, most of mine are in Kansas City, so shout out to them. I hope they enjoy opening day. Go Royals. And I just saw them about a month ago, so I already miss them all.
We're talking about cousins, but the stepbrothers in the bottom right-hand corner, it is Quinn Pushkar and a.k.a. the Growler is his new nickname, a.k.a. Big Sexy, Jeff Bezos.
I can't spell that word.
We're gonna get to that in just a moment and why this whole Growler thing has come to fruition. But Quinn, talk about your cousins, the love you have for them.
Yeah, I like Bailey. I'm not gonna pick a cousin because I'll probably get my ass kicked by one of them for not picking them. But we're all spread out. I mean, I got family in Louisville. I got family in Columbus, and we stretch all the way down into Dallas with one of my other cousins. So, I mean, I love them all. We're very competitive with each other, and the support that they give me is unbelievable.
Growler?
Yeah, I'm going to pick. I'm allowed. Because I'm going to pick my cousins that live in Minnesota because they live where Prince lives. So it's kind of badass to go there. It's kind of sweet to go there. Yeah, no, I said the same thing. So, yeah, I'm picking those cousins. Those cousins are awesome. They're a good time.
Good time. All right. I've got cousins from Columbiana County all the way up to upstate New York. Love them all. Not going to pick one. I love having cousins. I'm the oldest on the one side, and I fall somewhere in the middle on the other. So you learn a lot from being the younger kid, but you kind of maximize it from being the oldest, especially with grandma. Grandma always hooks you up when you're the oldest kid. So happy National Cousins Day to you guys, and let's talk about some sports. This is quite interesting. About an hour ago, our good friend Dana Balish over at 21 WFMJ Sports came out and said the Ohio Athletic Conference is expected to announce later this afternoon, and since then they have, canceling sports until January 1st, 2021. So you're talking about Mount Union, you're talking about Ohio Northern, you're talking about schools like that canceling it, postponing it, and guys, we've talked about it. I feel like we're beating COVID to death, but it's the world we live in now. Is this the biggest shoe to drop here in this area since the private school or the Ivy League? Excuse me. So, EB, let's start with you. You're the one that kind of brought this to our attention. Is this a big loss, and you see this being the biggest domino, and the other shoe's going to drop here soon?
I think it's huge for D3. I mean, if you think of D3 football, Mount Union's cream of the crop. So if they're pushing it back and they're not going to have a football season, what's Whitewater and a couple of these big names going to do? It's huge for them, and I also think it's huge for their boys basketball, because if they're going to miss out on a good chunk of their season, they already lost out on the tournament last year because that got shut down, and now you return, if I remember correctly, majority of that team, and you're losing out on much of your beginning of the season. So I think it's huge. I'm curious what these other conferences will do. OAC is a pretty well-known conference just because of football with Mount Union. So I wouldn't be shocked if some of these other ones start to follow suit, which now it turns into the whole domino effect.
So here are your schools in the conference: Baldwin-Wallace, Capital, Heidelberg, John Carroll, Marietta, Mount Union, Muskingum, Ohio Northern, Otterbein, and Wilmington. So there's some prestige, some names that we've got athletes at those schools right now or getting ready to go there that they're not going to play. So do you see, Michael, this trending towards what we're looking at from a high school standpoint and maybe further down the line?
I think it could. This is 2 days in a row that we've received devastating blows, some big news that could point to us having a cancellation possibly of the high school football season. I think that this kind of gets rid of the optimism that I've had for the past month or so. I'm starting to get a little more on the pessimistic side with the cancellation of the OAC, because you said it, Mount Union's the cream of the crop down there. They're the golden standard, if you will. They're maybe the Alabama of the Division 3 in the NCAA. So this is a huge shoe to drop, and I think that at this point it's only a matter of time before we see teams closer to the valley at the high school level start pushing things back.
Digging a little deeper into this, guys, here's the official statement from the OAC. As the President's Council of the OAC has postponed all NCAA intercollegiate athletics competition through December 31st of 2020 amidst continued concerns about COVID-19. The conference is committed to moving NCAA intercollegiate competition to the spring, with various models currently being discussed. There's the trigger right there, boys. What we've talked about, what we feared, and what has been discussed this entire time, all of a sudden becomes a reality. Now, it's not official that they're playing in the spring, but I think we all know the revenue model that football and fall sports generate. You can't miss out on that. You got to have it if you're a high school or a college. So you're going to make every effort, no matter when you play, to get those games in. Anthony, this is your first time on the Power Hour talking about this particular subject. Where do you stand on it, and where do you see things going in the next week or two as we draw closer to the football season?
No, I was talking to a YSU SID a couple weeks ago, and he said, the Horizon League might end up doing this. I mean, October 1st was optimistic for them to hold off but they might end up being pushed all the way back to January and be having to look at this spring sports kind of deal. And the thing he brought up is a lot of these schools don't have the people to the SIDs to run all these sports all in the spring. The people behind the scenes that do really amazing work to make these sports go. I don't know how they're going to coordinate all that in such a condensed time frame in the spring if they're running all different kind of sports.
Do you feel that there's going to be a big time problem? Maybe not so much in the college ranks, because most players or most athletes that go there are isolated in particular categories: baseball, football, basketball, softball, you name it. Do you think this is going to create a problem for high school if you flip over and you make kids pick between football and baseball?
Yeah, I can see a definite problem because we talked about it. I think we talked about it the last time I was on Power Hour. Someone's going to have to choose. Some coaches are going to have to choose, and you're going to really end up making people upset because you're choosing one thing over another. And at the end of the day, kids and coaches at some schools are going to have to choose what sport they're going to go to.
All right, the dynamic duo, you're up. Your thoughts on this latest announcement?
Oh, Jeff look even better.
You go again?
Yeah, I'm just trying to
You
keep
started
the flow going.
You
that's
started.
all.
Go, Quinn.
So the thing that really sticks out to me the most, and it sticks with football. If you look at it, like the OAC is pretty much like a regional conference, and with like in Ohio, YSU plays in a conference where they're not even remotely close to Ohio, like this area. So I don't really know what's going to happen there. Like what happens if the Missouri Valley Football Conference says, yeah, we're still going to play, but all of Ohio shut down. Like how's it going to work to where the nearest team for YSU is Indiana State? If the whole state gets shut down, does YSU play? Are they allowed to play and stuff like that? I don't know.
I don't know. Jeff, your take?
Like my biggest take from this is like January 1. Like, are they 100% positive January 1 we're all going to be the COVID's going to be fine enough to be able to play sports again? Like, what if it's still at the level it is now through January 1? Are you going to delay? You're just going to cancel basketball season now for girls and boys, and it's crazy.
I think we're in a spot where people are just throwing out dates, to be honest with you. And they just keep pushing it back and pushing it back to make it look like or appear as if they know what they're talking about, when in all reality, I think everybody knows that we're calling BS across the board. I mean, did anybody watch baseball? I mean, I guess you just had to be on the internet this morning to see Dr. Fauci's first pitch, number one.
It was socially distanced.
And yeah, the social distance.
Hey, he doesn't want anybody to catch anything. That's what it is.
Oh, nicely played there, Quincy. But the other part, did you see where he was sitting? He was sitting there. He was aisle seats, but he was deadlocked in the middle of two others with his mask down, and the other person had a mask off. So my question then becomes, if the guy that's telling us that we should wear masks is not wearing a mask, then why do we have to wear a mask? And not that I'm against it. If it listen, masks on, Ohio. If it helps us play sports, I'm all in. But if you're just doing this, throwing darts at the board, we got a big miss here. Because what are they going to do when this marketing effort of wear your mask and save your season falls flat on its face and it's going to happen. I'm convinced now. I hate to be the pessimist, like Mike said, but we're in a situation now where college is now pulling the rug from everybody, and if they're doing it, they have the funds to take a hit. These high schools don't. So I think it's only a matter of time, guys, before we start seeing this, and then the conversation begins of football in the spring. Then what do you do with baseball and softball? You've already cut them once. Can you cut them twice?
Dude, so this is what I don't understand with like the OAC. You're jumping the gun on some stuff, but some sports you could play. You could probably do volleyball. You could probably your fall track. You could probably do, in the various other sports. So I think you're jumping the gun to sit there and have the whole season for everyone canceled as a whole. And then also, if you move football to the spring, it's more likely to work for D2 and D3 than it is D1, because D1, obviously the players are the draw, And if they're starting to get ready for the NFL draft, you're just going to see people sit out. You already have people sitting out for bowl games because of the NFL draft. If you move the whole season to the spring, you're now going to start to have, 40-50% of these kids sit out because they're not going to want to risk getting hurt going into the NFL season if nothing else changes.
It's all interesting.
It's going to be a lot of teams on their second depth chart if the college football goes to spring.
Right.
I've had conversations with parents of athletes that are going into their, let's say, junior year, maybe their senior year, that say, hey, here's how we're going to do this. If Ohio cancels, we're moving. We're moving to a state that they're going to play a particular sport. Is that something that might be a trend? Can you see this actually happening, going all in on your child playing a sport, not knowing what's on the other side, just to do it? I mean, I'm not on either side of the fence on this one. This one I'm kind of up in the air on.
Dude, I told you last week, if this is just setting the platform for club sports to take over. And it's being set up perfectly for it, because club sports, it's all about the money. You say it all the time. Club is money makers. We play by a whole different set of rules. We don't abide by what OHSAA says. So if OHSAA says, hey, there's no basketball season this year, but they change, the contact rules, then you're just going to see AAU year round.
Is this an opportunity for AAU to advance to perhaps the college level and start taking kids that want to play and utilizing their talents in a different way than the NCAA?
I mean, me personally, if I'm someone like the NBA G League and you start to cancel the NCAA season, I just say, well, come make money and play at the same time. If we're going to put people in a bubble or whatever they're going to do, then.
Well, I guess a G League is different, because G League takes like top level talent, the 2% of the 2%. You know what I mean? Right. If you're talking about Division III athletes, is there opportunity? I say this as a business person. Is there opportunity to start something if the NCAA or OAC or whatever we end up doing here, if they cancel their season, they have to lift some of the regulations, and the kids have to be able to play if the opportunity presents itself. Because AAU have an opportunity here.
There's an opportunity there. It's you would have to have a set of rules across the nation, though. Like in Ohio, you can only have 2 kids per school on one AAU team, except for this year. There's that exception of the rule. PA, you can have the whole team, coach, and everything, and they get to play year-round anyways. So if you would do that, then do you sit there and say you can only have 2 or 3 kids from the OAC, each school can make up a team, and then you go and you play these other divisions? I don't see why you couldn't do something like that. There's obviously going to be a lot more in-depth into stuff like that, but it's just setting up – I think it's starting to set up an opportunity for someone to come in and start a whole new league and branch off from the NCAA, because really the NCAA has not done a thing for any sport. They haven't given any direction other than moving back recruiting periods. They haven't said anything about football. They haven't said anything. They haven't really done much this whole spring or summer. In fact, they haven't even given any sort of direction. They've been worse than OHSAA of just saying, well, it's going to be to the schools. They're not saying a word at all. So,
Michael, what's your take on all of this? Could you see a club sport come in and kind of take over where the NCAA and some of these conferences that are in the NCAA are kind of dropping it?
I mean, conference is dropping. I don't think that's going to happen unless it's the Power 5 that wants to play a football season, like the Ohio States, the Alabamas of the universe. I don't think any of these D2, D3 conferences like the OAC are going to be dropping from the NCAA, but I can definitely see these club sports like AAU starting to take over, especially in the fall time or maybe the winter time if they do end up axing basketball season, because this thing is starting to go into January 1st with projections. But the thing I would think is a little jumping the gun is the fact that the White House model, the one that Dr. Anthony Fauci has been working off the past couple of weeks, showed some of the COVID hotspots. We're being mandated to wear masks. We're starting to push stuff back to January 1st, and Ohio's bright white. We are nowhere near a hotspot for COVID. There's no outbreak whatsoever, and we're jumping the gun and axing these seasons as we started to reopen the state. That's what I think is a little bit too anxious, too much of jumping the gun. But yeah, I do see AAU starting to take over come November and December when we start seeing things possibly being pushed back even further than January 1st.
Q, do you have a take on the AAU side or a club sports side that maybe the college ranks could adopt because they're not going to take the risk of playing basketball? The kids have to play somewhere. I guess not kids. The student athletes are going to play somewhere. Wouldn't it be opportunistic, so to speak, to create a different level of basketball?
Yes and no, I guess. I mean,
What color is that fence you're sitting on?
It's, I don't know, white, I guess. I like the idea of it, and I think that they can kind of model like their own little league, maybe based off of the G League and how they run things and how AAU at the high school ranks run things. But as for just AAU taking over, I don't think you can, because colleges are still like, there's still scholarship money involved and stuff like that would pose a problem. Like, I don't want to say like a college owns you at that point, but if they're giving you a scholarship to be at that school, like, why would they let you go do something else where you can jeopardize your career for them? Like, if you go to Duke on a full ride, I can't imagine Coach K is going to be like, yeah, go ahead, go play AAU for somebody, and we'll see you in a year or whatever. Like, I think there's too much risk, I guess, involved in it.
Too much on the line, yeah.
Yeah, but there's the potential to where they could build something out of it, I guess.
JB, first off, you are looking fantastically slim this afternoon, so I want to
Oh,
let you
you're
know.
so nice. Thank you.
What's your take on this crowd?
Like, I don't see it working really in the college. College kids that are on scholarship, like Quinn said, basically is, when I was in high school going to play, looking at college to play football, my dad told me it's like 100%. They're not going to let you do anything else. So at that point, you're going there to play football or play basketball or play any sport. That college technically owns you. So you're going to be like, hey, can I go play baseball this offseason? No. There's no way. I don't think you're going to see kids. I don't think you see colleges do that. Let them go play AAU or in a club sport at all.
Interesting take. I can appreciate that. I think there's going to be a lot of coaches that have a problem if there is a club sport feel to the next level, because right now that you can't play club sports in college, correct? That's a rule,
right?
So if they open that up, because they shut down until January 1st or whatever that date might end up being, what are they doing? I mean, if they can't play their sport at the school, what are they doing to advance their athletes? That's my biggest question. Is if they're allowed to practice, they should be allowed to play.
How when you played baseball at Westminster, greatest catcher to ever play at Westminster,
All right,
did
get
you
on
end up
with it.
playing like summer ball in between? Like,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You know how there's like that Northwoods League and all that stuff? I know some
Correct.
YSU guys that go play there. How does that work? Like, is it because it's the summer and you're in between scholarship periods that you can do it? Or is there like,
Well, first off, there's no scholarship in
Well, yeah, not at
D3,
Westminster, but
but it's one of those things where you're in the summer, so I think that it kind of drops down in the off season. I don't see why. Can basketball players not play basketball in the summer at the college level?
well, they're practicing year round. I mean, it's like a job, I would assume. I mean,
Yeah, but you still get people who join in leagues and go play. Like, not to name names, but there's a couple of guys from around here who they still jump in leagues and go tear it up.
yeah, but those are like grown men leagues. Like, they're sitting there playing.
That's all really baseball is too. I mean, it's just an 18-0 or 18 and over league that you have that you go into and you play. I mean, you're not playing the best of best competition. I mean, you got Logan Bell that right now is down in Texas playing for the Bombers. So you look at it, that's some elite competition, but a lot of times those leagues aren't around here because it's just not here, right? A lot of those leagues are in the South. That's why baseball players, if they get an offer, softball players as well, if they get an offer to play in the South, it's a much of a bigger honor because you know that you're in because they play all year round. baseball. We can't play baseball all year round here in Northeast Ohio. I wish we could, and really you could if you are okay with 3 feet of snow and trying to deal. But we all know that baseball players are afraid of rain. I'm one of them, so we don't do that. But I find it really weird that football players don't play in any other season, right? They work out all year long, so they can have that 12-game season in college or somewhere around there.
But they're going year round anyway with camp and
right. But it's not full contact all year.
True.
You can't. You just can't.
Yeah.
And I think, and as I get back to the comments here, I think that Michael Page had a great point. The taxing just effects that it's going to have on players if you decide to switch from fall to spring. At some point, you're going to have to change back. If it's not this year, maybe next year, from spring to fall, and you're going to have back-to-back seasons with really no opportunity for rest. And then you're looking at injuries increasing through the roof, right? So that's, I think, a worry. But at this point, I don't think it's a concern for anybody because right now the revenue's here and they're not looking at anything out here.
I think that's probably
recruiting too. Like this hurts recruiting if you really think about it. Like how do they recruit now for football? Like you got kids that are freshmen right now that go to those schools, or you're gonna those kids are going there because you sold them out, that you're selling them a pitch that hey, you're going to be our guy in your sophomore year. Now he's not playing his freshman year. Are you going to recruit for that spot again? And it hurts recruiting for the colleges.
Anthony, how do you feel about recruiting if you don't know when the season is?
It's all up in the air, and right now coaches, especially, the dead period has been extended, so they can't even really recruit in the normal way they would anyway. I mean, I think there's a lot of uncertainties, and if you hear what college coaches around the area and around the nation are saying, they just want to know what's going on so they can adjust accordingly. There's so much uncertainty that they can't even adjust to what's happening.
Michael, your dad's a coach. Would you think that he'd want to see football in the spring as long as it's getting played?
I think that spring football is sort of the last resort, last-ditch effort to have a football season. I think that's inevitably what it's going to come down to. They want to play in the fall. They're going to do everything they can to play in the fall, whether they're acts and cheerleaders, marching band, all the fans, whatever capacity they want to play football, they're going to play football in the fall. Spring football is going to be the last resort. I think that it possibly will happen with the possibility of football season getting axed. It doesn't matter how well Ohio's numbers are. And with the OAC announcement, I think that shows. DeWine, I think, is going to make the announcement sometime around the first week of August that this football season is probably going to get postponed to September. But in terms of spring football, it's going to be the last-ditch effort.
I'm interested. I'm looking forward to one way or the other. We got to figure out if we're going to have a fall season, what sports are going to be included, what sports are going to be denied, and what you're going to do with that, if it's a complete axe or if it's just a move on to the next peg type thing. We're going to talk about – we were at Birdfish yesterday for our pop-up power hour, as EB so promptly or so aptly named our new power hours on the road. And we went off the air, and then all of a sudden, Tristan, who everybody knows and loves, signed us up for the spelling bee. We were just looking to promote it. We weren't looking to be part of it. One person, I'm not going to mention any names in this little area, was the first out of the contest, and someone else in this general vicinity was one of the last ones out, and I got kicked off the podium, which I should have been on. So I've got some beef with the G. Berwick Farms thing a little early, this spelling bee, which was an awesome event, and it benefited a great cause, and the beer was fantastic, and it was flowing like you wouldn't believe. Everybody was practicing social distancing. All that good stuff happened, and we were proud to be a part of that, and we're excited to obviously keep things up at Birdfish. But I will say this. I made it all the way to the semifinals. There was 4 people left. I was eliminated on a BS word, which at that point, I can't even remember it because I had a couple daddy pops too many probably at that moment. And I was just trying to figure out what the word was. I'd never heard it before in my life. There was no study packet or anything. And I feel like I got a raw deal because the words that I got were a little bit more complicated than any of the other ones. For instance, Anthony, if I were to say preschool words and give you sticker, that's pretty right on, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What if I were to say mathematics?
Mathematics.
Preschool, mathematics.
You want me to spell it?
Preschool, you're supposed to figure out what color your shoes are,
Right.
and I asked them for the definition because I knew how to spell mathematics, but I feel like I was being tricked a little bit. There's an E in there, right?
There's an E in there.
So I got toasted on a what is it, Cadlar or something like that. It was a version of an olive. So they announced me, and I'll take the L, right? Eat the L. But when they announced me in fourth place. And I said, wait a minute, I'm not in fourth place because if everybody else spells their word wrong, what happens?
You go back.
You redo it.
Yeah.
You go back. So naturally, the next person spelled their name or spelled their word perfectly because it wasn't anywhere close to what I had. And then another person spelled their name correct. And then another person spelled their word incorrectly. So I should be tied for third. I'm on the podium. So I'm taking that to the grave. The first ever Birdfish Spelling Bee. I was in third place. I know it's not a win, but I'm taking it home
Frisbee
with
says
me.
otherwise.
You're
What's
starting
that?
to.
You don't have a
Frisbee says fourth place. 'Cause
Frisbee doesn't say fourth place.
No,
They didn't write
that
fourth
Frisbee- That Frisbee went to a fan.
Yeah, we gave that away. We gave it away, Quinn.
I got finished fourth. I finished last.
All right, so let's talk about that for a minute.
Yeah.
So Big Sexy, as it's written on his name tag, it, rolls up there, and they ask him to spell growler.
Like
Can you spell growler?
GRO.
No, he can't look. He can't look. He got 2 letters in, and then there was just
Blank.
yeah.
My brain just goes blank, and I'm like, I don't know how to spell that word.
He doesn't even attempt it. There's no vowel. There's no anything. He just goes, looks dead on. He just goes GR. I don't know how to spell that word.
No.
Bing! And he was out just like that. As fast as he came in, he rode off.
Like you give me growler. Okay, one, I was more than a couple growlers deep at that point.
No, you were not.
Like
You spilled half of your beer.
allegedly spilled my beer. But like, could you give me like an easy word? Like if you pick
Okay,
up
all right.
or-
Here is what I will give you. I will give you the word that I had, and if you pass it, you can be third place or fourth place, whichever one you decide.
Okay.
The word is. Don't you look it up, Quinn? You gotta hold court back there. Notorious.
That was your first word?
That was my first word. Notorious.
Notorious?
Notorious.
Oh, that's impossible. I can't do that. Yeah, Notorious B.I.G. That's what I would have
Then
said.
spell it.
No, I don't know how. You didn't hire me. You didn't hire me because of my brains. He hired me because I can talk a little bit. And I did.
He said that at least 35 times last night. Every time we talked about growler, it was, you didn't hire me with my brain.
You didn't. I went to South Range. No offense, like I'm not the smart kid at South Range. I graduated 97th place in my class with 97 kids.
Because you couldn't spell growler. You could have been in the top 90.
Nah.
So are we passing on Notorious? Is that what I'm hearing?
Oh, he doesn't have a chance.
Can we give it a shot? Don't.
Hey,
No,
how do you spell Notorious?
No, Rob Swicka commented it.
N
You gotta take a break.
R-I-O-U-S.
That's dirty.
I won.
That's dirty.
I won.
Swicka is going to be muted the rest of the show because he's cheating on behalf of.
I could have spelled that within 10 seconds.
Okay. We'll come up with another word for you at the break. When we take a break and come back, we have a lot to talk about. We talk about the athletes a lot of times. Are the cheerleaders in that pack? We're going to tell you what the OHSAA says and how their ruling might be a little bit different. We're also going to talk Class B playoffs. Michael and I will be out there calling the Game 3s, all the excitement right here on YSN. Don't go anywhere. More to talk about when we come back on the network.
Baird Brothers remains your source for fine hardwood products. For the time being, we're open for customer pickup only on weekdays 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. and Saturday from 9 a.m. till noon. Place your order online at bairdbrothers.com. Baird Brothers, for the place you love.
Quality, customer service, and integrity. Those are the 4 words that have driven our success since 1957 at Joe Dickey Electric.
Joe Dickey Electric is one Mahoning Valley landmark business that stays current with the requirements of our customers. Family owned and managed, we are an electrical contractor and energy solutions provider. Every member of our team adds to his or her skill set through ongoing training. Residential, commercial, industrial, automotive, and more. We keep ahead of the needs of our customers with a fleet of more than 50 vehicles and 24/7 emergency service, so you're never left in the dark.
The 4M Company, being an architect and construction manager for over 40 years, has had the opportunity to use many different electrical businesses for our projects. The depth, quality, and knowledge and attention to detail displayed by Dickey Electric makes them stand out above all the rest.
For state-of-the-art expertise and a timeless commitment to our customers, contact Joe Dickey Electric. We are everything electrical.
And welcome back to the YSN Power Hour. DJ Oakley with a few of my friends here. Guys, cheerleading, it's always been debated. Is cheerleading a sport? We're not going to get into that. What we're going to do is, interestingly enough, cheerleading not considered a quote-unquote sport by the OHSAA. So what this means is it is up to each of the schools that has cheerleaders that can determine, number one, if they're allowed to be on the sidelines and not up to the OHSAA. If you are having football games, let's just put this in perspective. If you're having football games and you as an administrator have the opportunity to say, cheerleaders, you can go ahead, or we're not going to do this, what is the right decision and wrong decision? What are the pros and cons on each side? We'll start down at Shades McGee down there. You break them, you buy them.
I won't break them. I can't see anyways right now. So.
You can't spell, so you're 0 for 2.
I know. I got it. It's shots fired. Jeez.
What are your thoughts there, Growler?
Well, I 100% agree with Ohio situation there. Or the cheerleading's not a sport because
oh boy,
it's not, because I went to my sisters used to do cheerleading in high school. I went to a thing where a cheerleading meet whatever competition and spent 2 hours to get a participation trophy. Like, it's not a sport. It doesn't take any effort to cheer. It's on. Like, I'm sorry. It's just.
I think we all know how you are with creating formations. As if for those of you who don't know, and we will have this as part of our open moving forward. Jeff Bezos is the coach in the clip that all the South Range Little Raiders were coming out, and they missed the tunnel, so to speak. They ran backwards through. They ran backwards through the thing, and Jeff's there throwing his hat the entire time. I don't think you're the guy that needs to be talking about cheerleading formations.
Hey, we won one game that year. We lost 36-6 to Lisbon, and it's not on me. On the other team. I was coaching special teams. Coaching special.
But you're the guy that will forever be, and I can't. I've got to find this before the show ends. You're going to be the guy that will forever be the guy that has the hat. It's so mad. So interestingly enough, that's why it wasn't a trap. I swear, it wasn't planned. I just thought it was interesting that your take on cheerleading and then participation trophies, and then that naturally had to come in. Yeah. I didn't find out till last night. You told me.
Yeah, I was that guy.
You were that guy. Quinn,
I never forget that season. Keeps getting brought up, and
it happens.
Quinn, your thoughts on if you were a high school administrator, would you let the cheerleaders into the stadium? Let them be present?
I mean, I don't see a problem with it, I guess. I mean, they're kind of, from all the cheerleading I see that I've ever seen, like, they're always kind of distanced from themselves anyway.
Correct.
So I mean, I don't think that'd be a problem. The way I kind of took it when I heard that was like, they're going to kind of do what they do in high school basketball, where they, like, if you want cheerleaders to be there, you got to put them on a pass list and all that stuff, and then they can show up, I guess. but I mean, I don't think it'd be a big deal. I really don't.
I can respect that. Anthony, you have a take on this?
Well, I think it'd be really hard as an administrator to green light football and then not tell the cheerleaders to quit. Just point out that they're pretty socially distant already, especially in football, because most of them are standing at the track and they have the room to social distance. And I feel like there would be an uproar from that community if you said we can play football, but we can't have cheerleaders over on the track socially distancing from each other.
Michael, your thoughts?
I'm fine with cheerleaders being there. They're socially distant. Everything's going to be safe with them. My question is, how many tickets are we going to give to the cheerleaders' parents? Because if we're giving a marching band 2 tickets for people to be there, how many cheerleaders are there that we're going to have to give them 2 tickets? Is that going to overload our 50% capacity if we end up having a football season? If there's no fans there, then the cheerleaders are going to be there. But if we have 50% capacity, it might be a little bit of a problem to be giving marching band and football players' parents a couple of tickets to give, and then cheerleaders maybe no tickets, because if there's a lot of cheerleaders, then there's a few extra tickets you're going to have to give out.
I don't think I've ever seen a ton of cheerleaders on the sideline. Now, I could be way off, but I don't think I've ever seen more than a dozen, somewhere in that range. So
Not more than a dozen.
I don't think that 24 tickets is, and not to argue with you, Michael, but I don't think 24 tickets is going to make or break anybody's capacity in a football stadium. If it does, then they probably have bigger issues than handing out tickets. So, EB, your thoughts on the situation?
I'm perfectly okay with it. I mean, everyone's pretty much said if you go to a football game around here, you generally have, 6 to 8 cheerleaders. If you throw in JV and varsity, so you get maybe 15, 20 max, there's plenty of space for them because they're on a track or they're all in a formation that's more than 6 feet apart, which is the big thing now anyways. If you require them to wear a mask, so be it. I guess it's the new norm. I see them, schools coming through and saying, hey, here's your guideline. You can't stunt to where you're lifting people up or whatever. You just have to sit there and go through your cheers. I don't see any problems with it. I don't think any administrations here are going to really fight that battle because it's not much of a battle to begin with. My biggest question is, Quinn and Jeff in a storage closet, or where the hell are they sitting? Because I'm kind of confused.
We're in the studio.
It's in the studio, but there's like a storage behind that we try to hide until we actually get another space that we can put our stuff. So what is it? The equipment,
Michael Jordan right there.
Michael Jordan. We got our gear, all that stuff that's tucked back there. And now somebody's gonna steal it. Thanks, EB. Appreciate you.
No worries.
Letting all our secrets out. I'm conflicted. I think that there's a lot of this. They're going to try, I believe, they're going to try to minimize the people that are in the same area, right? Even further than 6 feet. I think they're going to have a hard time because cheerleaders are part of the game. You know what I mean? They are. And to me, cheerleading is a sport. I think cheerleading, you look at some of the stuff they do in there. You talked about stunting. You talked about all that. The athleticism that comes with being a cheerleader a lot of times. Listen, if you've ever been to a basketball game and you've seen the cheerleader do the cartwheel, and then the 13,000 backflips on the basketball court, you couldn't pay me enough to learn how to do that. Like, I would have a broken freaking neck like Kurt Angle on attempt number 2. So if that's not athletic, I don't know what is. So I'm not trying to knock anybody else or put cheerleading on a pedestal over anybody, but listen, it's a different sport, and they are as welcomed to. If I'm an educator, or I'm an administrator rather, they're welcome to that as well. As long as they're able to social distance between each other, they're able to add to the moment. Like, the goal here is normalcy, right? So if we're just picking one over the other, I don't think we can ever get back to normalcy. And I think that's kind of where things have to be headed, because again, I feel like the goalposts keep getting moved on us from time to time and from week to week. So it's going to be interesting to see how what the next word is, because guys, starting on Monday, I take it back, 2 weeks is August 1st, and that's when teams report. So I'm still worried that the August 1st deadline is going to come in and we're going to go right underneath. But then, as we talked about on the show earlier, on Running Point, what is going to change? You know, if you're going to pull the rug out and throw the locks on the door August 1st, August 2nd, why not now? Like, why not now? I understand you're trying to buy time, but come on. Like, a decision has to be made. Like, we're moving forward or we're cutting this off, because time is not on our side right now. So it'll be interesting enough. I mean, EB, you're always on this. You are constantly up to date on the situation. You have to be. You're a coach. Do you see August 1st coming and going and nothing changing, or do you see that things change in that first week or that first couple days and they go, yeah, we're pulling the plug on this?
I'm kind of, Michael kind of said it earlier where he's getting more pessimistic about it, and with OAC canceling, I'm starting to get a little more pessimistic about it too. You kind of hit the nail on the head when you said they're just buying time, and that's all they're doing. I can truly see them coming in August 1st and pushing it back to where games don't start until after Labor Day, and it's going to be a shortened season, or, it's going to be conference play only. Or, we kind of mentioned this other day to where, what if they start to go, you can only play teams within the county or the county that you're at, because it's a little bit more of a control. And that's a whole different problem by itself for some of these teams, depending on the sport. So, yeah, I mean, right now they're buying time. I see them buying time, and then come August, I can totally see who's setting the line coming out and reassessing things to see what's going on, especially when you get into doubles or two-a-days for football, and you get into I guess that would be your hitting or your contact days. So we'll see what they see or come up with during that time.
Is there one thing that you feel like, or a number that you feel like we're waiting on to come out to bend or break the straw, so to speak?
I mean, I don't have any number or anything like that. It's
because the numbers really haven't changed.
So
you look at the ultimate number is the number of people that have contracted the disease and died from it. That's the number, right? Because everybody talks about the numbers, that how they're fluff, they're all this. Yeah, whatever side of the coin you're on, there has to be some legitimacy to what we're looking like.
Right.
Which direction are we pointing towards?
I think what you'll see in August though is you'll see if any of these kids that have been going through conditioning now, if anyone starts, if there's an uptick in cases. If there's an uptick in cases, and especially in the larger cities, so where people are just naturally more confined, I think they'll start to dial back and be like, hey, we're going to put an end to this, or we're really going to push things back. And I guess we'll find out here in the next couple of weeks. That's probably going to be right around August 1st, where they're going to start to see, what they say, it's a 14-day incubation period or whatever it is. We'll see then, that first part of August. It's if you see a jump in cases in the younger kids, which, naturally I think it's less than 1%. And if it gets above 1% or closer to 2%, I think they're going to dial back and start to at least either move it back or cancel some of these seasons.
I am really interested to see just how things progress over the weekend. You know what I mean? Because I think there's Monday, Tuesday, there's going to be an announcement by a lot of schools, as I'm hearing, that they're going to go back to 5-day-a-week classes in person. So we've seen a couple schools do it already. It's going to be interesting because if they're in school, I think the argument can go the other way, that if they're not in school, they can't play football or they can't play sports. I see that one. But you can't just have one and not the other, right? If they're in school.
I think if they go to school, starting school, they should have just stayed in school, or at least, broke it down. I guess it would have been in the spring, so you can start the whole herd immunity thing. And you hear that a lot, that's how you build it up. It's, you need the herd immunity, and it's not a super deadly virus. A virus needs a host. And, in order, if it was a deadly virus and it had a high death rate, then it would be over because, it's killing its host. But the 99% survival rate, a lot of symptoms are mild. Me personally, I thought these kids should have stayed in school just so they could build up an immunity and keep things going. That's my take on it, though.
I'm with you. I'm in the same boat, dude. I really and listen, decisions had to be made, and I'm not going to sit there and point the finger and say, tis, tis, tis. It's going to be, they are in a position, they have information that maybe I don't have to make the best decision for their people, and they did it. That's all I think we're asking for is a decision to be made. And by making, I guess, the old adage, if you don't make a decision, you're still making a decision, right? And I think that's where we're all being pissed or getting to that point where, listen, I don't care what the decision is. You just have to do it because there are other people involved in this that have to schedule themselves around it. So think about parents that if they cancel school, they're going to have to make arrangements like they did in the spring to work from home or have a caregiver or anything like that. The same with football. Your son or daughter, or I should say, same with fall sports. If you are not having fall sports in the fall, you have to make arrangements so they can figure out what their next steps are to get to their goals. Because if you pull that Band-Aid off, you still are bleeding. You know what I mean? You still have to figure out how to get that cauterized and move on to everyday life. So I'm interested to see kind of how things go. I think we're going to know, I hope, fingers crossed, we know a lot more next week. I think next week is a big week for all of this. So we'll have you covered from pillar to post on it. You all right? Attaboy. We'll have you covered from pillar to post on it. And of course, kind of transitioning right into it, we will have you covered from pillar to post tonight, starting at 5:30. Michael will have a game on Game 2. Andrew will be on Game 3, and I will be on Field 1. I should say games, fields. Because of the sweeps in the 18U playoffs, A to Z in Creekside, 14U will be played at Scene 2 at 5:45. That's Michael's game. The 16U playoff game at Eagleware versus Prospects will be played on Scene 1 at 6. That's my game. And the Prospects versus Roth 14U playoff game is still scheduled for 5:30. That's on Scene 3. All of these games are Game 3s. This is do or die, win or go home. This is the best part of sports. We have it right here on our network, guys. When you think of the opportunity for these young men here in Game 3, do you have any advice for them from the coaching side of you?
I'm
You
good.
still okay? All right,
I'm good.
Cough into the microphone next time. That's usually the way. It's the good way.
Hey, bud, if you see down there's a little mute button. It works.
Oh, you want me to see something on this tiny screen?
Yeah, he can't. He's
Forget
got no shot. He's got no shot. Just give me like a warning, like wave me off, and I'll mute you. But so, do you have any advice for someone going into a big game? Either they're the favorite or the underdog. EB, you've coached a lot of these. You've inspired so many kids along the way. What advice would you give to kids, to these athletes in a do or die situation?
My advice is always with my girls and any kid that you get a big game like this. It's go in the moment, because you only get so many moments in life, and this is where it starts to get really fun. So walk out there, kind of see what's going on. I know it's kind of an odd year. Generally, I'd say look at the stands, take that first deep breath, and then go out, enjoy it, and win the moment.
Michael, you're going to be there. What advice would you give to the youngsters out there?
There's going to be a lot of adrenaline. This is winner take all. This is what you play for. Games like the games that are going to be played tonight. You're going to go out there. You're going to have the adrenaline pumping. There's going to be some butterflies in your stomach. But use that adrenaline. Use that, I don't know another word for it. Use that adrenaline to your advantage. Push harder than you've ever pushed in the season. I know when I've got a lot of adrenaline going into a big game, I'm going to use that to my advantage. I'm going to play harder than I've ever played. That's what I suggest these kids do. That's the advice I would give them. Use that adrenaline to your advantage. Play harder than you've ever played, because this is what it's all about.
Anthony.
Well, I feel like you can't fall into that cliche that's like this is just like any other game, because it's not. It's an elimination game. There's going to be some tightness. But you have to find that balance between playing it like it's an elimination game and at the same time not getting too caught up in it to the point where you get over tight and then your play kind of takes a dip. I think it's going to be take the momentum when you can get it, take your chances, because it's win or go home and there's no tomorrow if you lose. So I would be a little bit overly aggressive and play it like there's no tomorrow. Embrace the moment.
Love it. Quinn, I'm excited for this, but I got to say that I'm really looking forward to JB's next. So
Yeah,
no pressure.
I'm going to go first because the legendary youth coach next to me has probably a lot of wise words.
3 championships. I've won 3 championships.
Whatever.
Don't forget it.
But no, it's. I always tell my girls. I mean, I learned it from Chris Suxel. I learned it from him that don't come back after the game saying you could have gave more. Leave it all out there. Just go enjoy it. Enjoy it. Win the moment, like Bailey said, and just go out there and go have fun. I mean, it's a huge moment to be in, and you don't get many of those.
All right, JB, what do you got for us?
Like the biggest thing.
Wait, here comes the Zoom. There it is. All right. Here's your moment.
Like when South Range made those playoff runs and stuff, like Coach Egley would be very, very big on just do your job. Do the little things correct and everything will follow through. And you look at in big games and big playoff games, you see waves. The first wave hits you, you got to take the wave. Everything's not going to go right the whole entire time. Take that wave, move on, get to the next play, and just make yourself better. That's what I would say. And do the little things right. Baseball is a pretty easy sport. Catch the baseball, hit the baseball, throw the baseball. It's all we need to do, boys.
Love it. Look at him getting all serious. I guess mine would be capture the momentum. Capture the momentum. If you capture it early, a lot of times it benefits you throughout the game. If you can, if you got runners in scoring position, whatever it takes, whatever necessary, drop the egos. Don't worry about your batting average. Worry about what you're looking at on the grand scheme of things, and that's winning a championship with your buddies. So if you can be selfless and really capture the momentum, you should be good on the right side of the scoreboard when it's all said and done. So I'm really excited for the for the G. Burbick Farm What's Your Beef today, because I know we got some guys on this panel that way that have some beef, because it might be a day 2 beef as well, because I feel like JB might be going back. He might not. He might have a couple issues, but he might be going back to his situation from yesterday. Let's go to our G. Burbick Farm What's Your Beef, boys. We got 3 minutes to go. Mike, let's start with you.
The 5-inning opening game of the season. We have opening day. We're waiting for this forever, it seems like. And then they call the game off after 5 innings. Just very disappointed in that. At least we got to watch another game with the Dodgers and Giants. But, first game of the season in the MLB, and they axed it after 5 innings, I should say. Hated it.
Not a fan. All right, EB. We're scrolling through these comments. Billy McCartney's pissed, and he didn't show up to the show today, so he can't defend himself. So I'm trying to get to it. Really hitting on JB right now. But EB, take it away.
Sorry. I'm gonna go with Growler. Growler. Learn how to spell growler when you're drinking beer.
Oh, everything.
Well played. Anthony, go ahead.
I'm going to go back to, Mike had the beef about not finishing the game, but I really expected a little bit, some new things from the broadcast. I wanted to see players get mic'd up. I wanted to see ESPN try some new things, and I felt like they didn't really change anything from a normal baseball broadcast that they would have. So I was kind of disappointed.
Quinn?
My beef is with that first pitch. That was garbage.
Oof.
Straight garbage. Like, you're going to be doing it for what, 2-3 weeks now?
He's been quarantined.
Go practice. Go throw against a wall.
Yeah, it's like me getting pitching.
I mean, come on.
It's not my fault.
That's terrible.
All right, here we go.
Brick wall. Nice. Thank you. My beef is it's totally different. Yeah, I got fat shamed again. Big, sexy. Well, bigger, sexy. It's not my fault, man. It's quarantined. Okay, I'm not going to the gym. But no, my beef for the day is the comments. Baseball is a simple, easy sport, people. Okay, if you think it's harder to hit a 97-mile-an-hour fastball, yeah, that's why not everyone does it. I sucked at baseball, and I knew that. I understand, it's an easy sport. Yeah, it is an easy sport. You catch the ball, field the ball, throw the ball, hit the ball. If you can't do one of those things in baseball, you're probably not a very good baseball player, and you probably should pick another sport. Maybe take up piano lessons, or maybe soccer lessons. I don't know. Take up the sport if you can't do those things well. You're welcome.
We have a rebuttal that I think everybody's asking. Why is it easy?
Because it is. It's a simple sport. When you get into a big game situation, your overthink is where you technically make mistakes. In the game in and game out. You start overthinking baseball by, oh God, I gotta, where am I releasing the ball? Why is it going high? Why is it going low? Well, go back to the basics. That's what baseball is. That's how it's easy. Go back to your stuff that you did when you were 10 years old. Field the ground ball by staying down on it. Get in front of it. It's an easy sport. I can coach baseball, and I can win every game when I coach baseball.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy.
So if you can't dribble, pass, or shoot, is that all it is to basketball?
Jeff,
And then maybe defense? Is that all it is to basketball?
Yeah. Every sport's easy. Football. Seriously, football is an easy sport.
This is coming from the guy that couldn't spell growler.
I know I couldn't spell
notorious. He just not spell growler. He couldn't even get a run through a tunnel.
You didn't even get to the O in growler. You didn't even get there.
Come on me for that.
You're the coach. Guide him through.
I was over by the sidelines talking to the cheerleaders' mom. Just saying hi.
Not
saying
based
hello.
on that video you
I don't. I'm with.
The video you saw should never been up.
You want to know what's easy? Running through the correct way.
I know it was a big. I know I went viral on Twitter. It's cool. It's not my fault that I'm cool.
Jeez, incredible! What a way to end this show. I don't even have a beef because that just made my day. That is it. And I had one all loaded up. We're gonna end the show on that because that is comedic.
I'm changing my beef.
What is it?
I'm switching my beef. Baseball is an easy sport. Every sport is
It is easy. Every sport is easy.
If you overthink in baseball, Mike, then it's a hard sport. Okay.
I think easy. The word easy is throwing people off.
Yeah,
it's not an easy sport to play. It's a simple concept sport.
Yeah. It's a simple, easy concept sport. Okay. I got taught that my whole entire life at South Range. But baseball is very, very easy.
Where did you go to high school?
South Range.
Okay.
See, it's just like football. On defense, you're going to throw all these coverages out there. But the biggest thing on defense is see ball, get ball. That's why the smart people play offense that can remember how to block schemes and their assignments. On football, it's see ball, get ball. That's why that's why football is an easy sport too. Gain tackle, wrap up,
stop. The concept of the sport is easy. The execution is where the challenges lie. Think about what you're saying.
Well, I know.
Jeff was on defense. That's why the whole no thinking
100%.
thing is
Best nose man in
involved.
the valley right here, 2010.
All right, I'm going to turn off this video before I get my ass kicked because of you.
That is going to do it for the YSN Power Hour. A fantastic week, gentlemen.
Go Royals.
Go Royals. Go Pirates. Who else needs a shout out? Anybody?
Go Yankees.
Indians? Go Yankee. All right. Well,
No, you'd better not say go Yankees.
Yeah, go Yankees.
No.
That's what happens when it rains. You only can play 5
All right,
minutes.
great show.
Derailed. That's going to do it for the week, guys. Thank you so much for being a part of it. Thank you for watching. Thanks our sponsors. Thanks to Birdfish for hosting us yesterday. That was fantastic. Looking forward to our next Power Hour pop-up. And that is going to do it once again. For all of us, to all of you, have a great weekend. Stay safe, and we'll see you on Monday.
See you, everybody.